I'm ready.
Hello, friends. Today we are going to be talking
Hi!
about art and design and character design and art design and all that other kinds of design, probably. So the primary focus is going to be talking about game design, or talking about art design and character design. Character design, not that what I'm talking about. I'm coming at it a little bit from the perspective of what's up with my mic? My mic not Mike Franchi?
Yeah, you're crunchy again, and I don't know why.
What?
Maybe start light host. Why, hello.
Hello.
Good? Okay. Every couple weeks after we start light host. So, character design is very important. This is my TED Talk. I am not an artist. I have been a game designer, and I have been an actor, and I have been literally gone to college for fine arts. But I am not an artist, and design is not my forte. Fortunately, we have Sapphire here, who is much better at this sort of thing.
Hi.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I am Sapphire Dixon. I am a professional artist who does commission work. You can commission me through my Ko-fi. I do art streams over on Twitch. And
guys, let me get to my intro first.
And you get very flustered when people call you adorable.
Yes.
So my main expertise area is in character design. That's what I most love doing. I immensely struggle with backgrounds, but
I still try my best when people ask for them.
I have added you to the description. I forgot to do that before the stream, but it's in there now.
Okay, thank you.
So you gave me a couple dozen pictures that we can discuss the character design of. Before we get into that, though, I think we should talk about some of the basic ideas of character design, some of the core concepts of what we should be looking for. If I'm looking for a character design, what in your opinion is where you should start? Where do you begin with character designs?
that's a good question.
I thought so.
Draw says keep it simple. Well, okay, so when I typically start with a character design, I'm usually just trying to start with a basic idea, like what are my adjectives? What for some people it might be looking at like, oh, what purpose is this character going to fulfill within a story? Like if they're an NPC and they do a very specific thing, like how do we signify that on the character? And then there's shape language, which can be used to further exemplify who that character is. Like round shapes tend to be like, this character is very soft and cute. Like example, Kirby. Kirby in concept is terrifying, but is round and friend-shaped.
Yeah.
So you're not afraid of him.
Damn. What are Kirby's pronouns?
Kirby usually uses he, they.
Okay.
But Kirby is Kirby.
Alright, so either one of those was correct.
I believe the official stance is Kirby is Kirby.
Kirby is Kirby, Kirby is friend-shaped.
It's one of those things where, when you translate things across languages, pronouns or lack thereof don't always stick. There you go.
Kirby's
pronouns
are Pollo.
I love it.
Yes.
See.
Yeah. So with my little character avatar here, Chibisoft, one of the main things I wanted was something to represent me.
Mhm.
And for a very long time, I have loved the idea of wearing a suit.
Simple
So
enough.
here I am, my cute little suit. And then my hair is pretty much reflecting the hairstyle I've currently got going in real life. It is very messy because I constantly forget to brush my hair.
Fair enough.
But
Yeah, that adds a personality to it. It shows, yeah.
Yeah.
Personally, when
it's
I'm looking
gloriously messy.
Personally, when I'm looking at character design stuff, I focus on outline, readability, because again, my background is in game design, so I want to say, hey, is a character recognizable at a glance? If I look at this character in silhouette, can I still recognize who they are? Is this character going to work in the art style of the rest of the project or the rest of the backgrounds? Or is it going to look different? Is it going to look off when it's actually in production? And likewise, does the character fit the aesthetic, the art style of the game? You know?
Yep.
Those
are all very important things.
And then also, how easy is it for it to be rigged and animated, which is, you know, again, game animation specific rather than just character design stuff. But that's part of how I work through things.
Most animations tend to have like more simple character design. There are a couple who break the rule, and I'm definitely showing them here.
Yeah. So shall we get right into it then?
I have a waffle behind my ear. I see it.
Sake comments on the 5-man band trope, also known as the Captain Planet trope.
Yes.
The leader, the lancer, the powerhouse, the brains, the heart. Yeah. That was every single kids show when I was growing up.
Yep. There was always that one character who was built like a brick.
So right out of the gate, we have whatever is going on here.
Yes, so this is Mayday from the game No Straight Roads. This is her kind of like talking avatar, kind of PNG. I assure you, she does have legs. But yeah, so No Straight Roads is a very unique game. It is a rhythm battle RPG game.
Interesting.
Yes, so she is one of the main characters, and she has a very explosive personality. Oh my gosh, this girl is slightly insane. She rushes into things very headfirst.
Well, we're talking about the character design, the art design primarily, right? So who the character is important, but I think that we should. I want to try to figure out who the character is based on the art design. That's one thing that I would like to do.
So ignoring my explanation, what would you say?
The first thing that strikes me here is proportions. The proportions look comically, I'm going to say abnormal, right? The arms don't do that usually, and
no,
the arms go halfway down. The elbow goes halfway down to her thigh, which is an interesting choice. And I feel like you almost have to have the character's arms up or at least lateral most of the time, otherwise it's going to look very apish. But in this particular pose, it works. It shows a lot of motion. You have an interesting line of action here. You have the line of action is obviously right here. And then you have a nice perpendicular line of action out here, which I think is nice. I know more about animation than I know about art.
Yeah, and her arms frame her face beautifully.
And the eyes are interesting in how non-standard they are. It's
one of the things I very much liked about like looking at her character.
Oh, yeah, okay, I was right. I just had to check the angles on it. Yeah, that's those aren't stars in her eyes. That's the kanji for fire. Yeah. Is that relevant?
Well, maybe just a little bit.
Just a tiny bit. The proportions remind you of Jet Set Radio. That's fair, but Jet Set Radio is actually has a really interesting. Jade is a weeb. Yeah, this surprises nobody, right? Yeah, they have a little sharp nose, no mouth to speak of.
Well, at least
visible.
in this one.
Which leaves a very big open white space area here, which I think would be an issue if you didn't have such strong lines of actions framing it. I think that this is a character design that works based on the pose, right? I think if you took the same character and posed them differently, it would look bad. But it doesn't look bad. I think this works because of the posing, primarily.
Yeah. So poses in the game typically tend to be very expressive. The arms are usually pretty much doing something.
Just lock in.
Yeah. I love the No Straight Road style. We've got a couple more No Straight Roads characters in here, I think. I know we have at least one other. I can't remember all of them. I did this, 2 months ago.
I do also want to comment on a couple of checkpoints. This is a very normal and realistic outfit. There is nothing fantasy or wild or even, Nomura-esque that has, bright and vibrant standout points. This is an outfit that you could go down to a thrift store and buy. And that's interesting and hard to pull off. You have finger gloves, you have... I don't know if that's a tattoo or if those are bands. You have a collar, and then you just have a simple shirt and skirt, and that's it. Just works. It's not flamboyant, despite the arm position, despite the eyes, it's not flamboyant in the outfit. It's flamboyant in its actions, but not in the outfit, and I think that's an interesting point. What else do you want to cover about this? You know more about things than I do.
Yeah, I wanted to try getting characters from games you didn't know for this exact reason. So, not only is the symbol in her eyes the kanji for fire,
Yep, kanji.
She is also very fire-colored.
Yes, very warm colors all around.
It fits her personality a lot. You love her, but she does have some sharp points, and there are occasions where everyone gets burned.
The comment of keeping your color palette to simple, less than 7, though I do believe that is before shading, because once you start adding highlights and lowlights, then that number will grow.
Yeah.
But as a base palette, I would that makes sense to me. I know for painting, which is I do paint miniatures, models. That's something that needs to be considered as well. Is you keep your palette. In that case, usually you want to do between 3 and 5 if you can manage it.
Yeah, don't muddy your palette. So, it's something I might get a little bit further into later, but there are different ways of using color. So if you're if something is getting branded towards kids, usually the color palette that's going to be used is along the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. But there's also cyan, magenta, and what's the other one? Cyan, magenta, and yellow. Which is not what I use. And then there's RGB, which you use for them gamer lights. I say I don't remember all of them. I know the basics and what I usually go to. But if you're
I do have
going
a
with bright colors,
Mhm.
yeah, if you're going with bright colors and eye strain, that is definitely one style, but you need to be able to balance your eye strain. Uh,
I do have a story about that. I think I've told it. I think I told it back in the Go Godot jam times, but now is a great time to retell it. Um,
oh,
as some of you may know, I worked in the tabletop gaming industry for a while, for a bit,
mm-hmm.
and I was looking. Saw a booth with a game that I knew the person who worked on it. The game was inspired by MOBAs, your League of Legends, your Dotas, your Here's the Storm. That style of game adapted to the tabletop. And I looked at their models. I think it was Pantheon. It was Pantheon, I'm pretty sure. I think. The models all had these gray, dulled, muted color palettes. And I just straight up asked him, why? Because when you look at a League of Legends character, when you look at a Dota character, when you look at these, art styles that are all over the genre that you are trying to emulate, they're all bright, they're all vibrant, they're all extremely saturated, and they all pop. They all have this incredible vibrance to them. Why did you choose to go with a very muted color palette? And do you know what he told me? He told me, because I'm trying to sell this to tabletop gamers. And tabletop gamers expect the model to look a certain way. And you look around the convention space, you look at all the Warhammer, War Machine, you look at all of the 40k players, and yeah, all the colors are very dull, very muted, very brown-coated. And I lost a little bit of my love for tabletop gaming that day, in that moment, because it's like, yeah, you're right. You need to make this to sell to a particular audience. And that's going to be important. Like you say with kids earlier, but in addition, not only with that though. But absolutely with that.
Yes.
But not only with that.
So, yeah, like I said, this is something that I might get like a little bit deeper into a bit later. And you've actually brought up a excellent point that I will touch on.
Fanto says that's lame. It's lame, but it's true, right? I think it would be better if they took the vibrancy route, but if that hurts your sales, at the end of the day, you can only chase your vision insofar as it's going to get the attention from the people that you want to be able to make sure that you can do what you want. That's a painful truth, There's a time for projects of passion, and there's times for following what is going to work in the industry you're working with. That's not related to this model here, but I'm saying that as reference to to the colors configurations and whatnot. The other thing that bothers me is when guy characters have exaggerated wild proportions and colors, and the girls are just humans with cat ears. Yes, but it also flips the other way. It also flips the other way around too, where women get interesting and dynamic clothing, whereas men's outfits are always identical. That is true, and the opposite is also true, and these things can both be true at the same time.
Yeah. Keep them consistent. Remove gender from the equation. Keep it consistent.
Remove gender full stop. Anyways.
Yes.
Shall we continue onwards? So this, right out of the gate...
Does this art style look familiar?
It looks very much similar to the art style that we were just working with. I'm going to assume this is from the same thing.
Yes.
And we have immediately comparisons. Now I love the line of action on this. This giant sweeping curve here, followed by a bit of
and the opposing curve.
And also, I feel like these arms are actually, like, I'm going to say quote-unquote correct proportions. But because of the way they're posed, it looks like it would work alongside the other character. And also all cool colors. Slide the chat up a bit so then it's in the way of the pictures. Tell me of this.
So this is Zook. This is Mayday's fellow band member. He plays the drums, and
I could have called that. I could have called that in a heartbeat. This was either drums or bass, no question anything else.
Yeah, you look at him, it's like, yeah, he plays the drums.
Yeah, you say that, and it's like, yeah, that tracks. Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. He tends to be a little bit more level-headed than Mayday is, a little less explosive. But he does generally, like, he's like, okay, I agree with what you're saying, but also we should do it this way instead because that's probably safer. She's
Nice.
like, but what if we did it my way anyways? And he's like, okay.
I love this line of action. That's really what I keep on I keep on coming back to that because that is the most clear decision about the entire character. They even have their the character's left foot forward to make sure that line of action is able to continue across the hip. The pose is nonsensical in the same way that the other pose is, but again, that's keeping the art consistent across the property, across the intellectual property. That's fine as long as everything's like that. Now, you can do a bunch of art styles together in something like WarioWare, but that has to be an intentional choice. Otherwise, it's going to just look like it's a mistake. This looks like it fits very well with that other character.
Yeah.
All cool tones implies a level head. The eyebrow raise shows both skepticism and a tired expression, which is contrasting with the hair, which is like these pseudo dreads. I'm gonna say.
I assume they're dreads. There's another character who has a vaguely similar hairstyle, for reasons that I will not go into.
Fair.
If you want.
What about mixed media like Gumball? The important thing there comes down to
The Amazing World of Gumball.
I've not seen it, but I'm familiar. I've seen pictures of it. That comes down to making sure that your animation is the human characters need to act like I'm thinking of like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, right? The human characters need to act a little bit more cartoony to make sure the characters work. The cartoon characters need to act a little bit more reserved to make sure that that the human characters can fit alongside them. You need to blend a little bit. You can have them be distinct and separate in a mixed media situation, but they have to blend enough that it's realistic to the viewer for them to be side by side. That's my 2 cents, anyways. I'm not the pro artist here, though.
Yeah.
I should be shutting up, shouldn't I?
It's like, one way to do that is like with what you said, and like balancing how they behave. Another way is giving them at least a couple of things in common.
Go
So
on.
like, you for example, you could draw the eyes all the same, and it could balance them out. Like, eyes all in the same style, I should preface. So, with The Amazing World of Gumball, it's a fabulous show. I watched it quite a bit in my youth, and not so much after a certain point when I was getting towards more adulthood. But one thing all the characters have in common is they're all a little on the zany side. Like, they all have their core personality traits, but at the end of the day, if there's something a cartoon character is gonna do, they're gonna do it. Even Tina, which is a 3D T-Rex. At least I remember her name being Tina.
Sure, let's go with that. Someone in the comment section, let me know right on that.
Yeah. Tell me if I am severely wrong or not. But yeah, so Tina, even she has her moments, like, despite being so stoic, where she's going to do the stereotypical cartoon T-Rex thing and chase after people.
So then, This is obviously a static still of a character, though. Does this character have other animation
Yes.
frames?
I tried looking for a couple of them. It was a little hard to find them in like the more PNG style,
Mm-hmm.
but in game they are very expressive. Hold on, let me see.
Also, no mouth, mirroring the other character.
Yeah. So I assume that these are like technically the animation stills because I remember from the game that the mouths are very animated.
Mm-hmm. So what I was going to say is I'm curious on how this works across other characters in the same other frames of the same character. You know, that's something that I would be curious about.
Yeah. They have other emotes in terms of things. Goodness gracious, why is my thing like this? We're here just looking for pictures.
Should we continue on then?
Yeah, let's just continue on.
Okay.
I don't want to hold off on it a bit. Oh wait, actually, shape language. That was something I was going to talk about with. So, notice there are a considerable amount of cubes with Zook's design. His hair is fairly cute. Like it's a series of extended rectangles. His pants are just slightly tilted rectangles.
Yep.
Very blocked out. Where if you look at Mayday's design, she's very triangle shaped.
Yep. Very much
Even
so,
her pose, that's a very good triangle there. It's like she's very pointy. So Zook is like the foundation of the group. He is typically the one who speaks with reason, and that's why he's a square. Mayday is very driven, a little bit reckless, and that's why she's a triangle.
And the warm colors versus the cool colors, it makes sense. It makes you can get a lot of reads off that. It makes sense to me.
They contrast, but they complement because orange and blue are complementary colors.
Yo, Shadows color wheels or something. Fun fact: I managed to get a fine arts degree without taking a single drawing class. True.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me. I can see it as being possible. All right, now we can continue forward.
Oh.
Oh.
Why though?
Her. That's right.
This is Delilah, I want to say, from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Dahlia, close enough. And let's talk perspective. Now, this is a fantastic time to talk about perspective, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Because the perspective on this is doing its best to draw your eye to something.
The spontaneous busty bunny. Yes. So, what are your thoughts on Dahlia's design?
I don't like it because it doesn't have a lot. To me, in my opinion, it doesn't have a lot of personality to it. Like, what do we see here? What are we seeing? A wiggly line of action. We're not really seeing like a strong frame shot. We're not really seeing the action there is sort of like a model pose, like a swimsuit model pose, with they're playing on the the whole touching your lip, except that she's touching it with a clawed nail as opposed to a finger, just to sort of highlight the claw and the larger hands. Which works. I think that part works. But I think the perspective is what's really killing this for me. Because this perspective doesn't show off the frankly interesting high heels and digitigrade legs, but kind of not quite.
Quote
because it's more
unquote
of a
high heels. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like a bone spur, but that's actually a thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then
So this picture I don't mind as much from her. The in-game model, though, does bother me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have pictures of the in-game model. I contemplated putting them in here, but I decided not to torture the audience with that. So
The in-game model also doesn't match this.
it matches it as best as it can.
No, not even close. The in-game model has flesh-colored skin. The in-game model actually has clothing yeah. The in-game model also has like clothing as opposed to this sort of, draping, partially textured, partially clothed aesthetic that they have going on here. Like, tell me where the sleeve ends, right? Like, there's no actual cut into the sleeve, whereas the model just has a very normal, I guess, like a more clear outfit, which I think is not as interesting as what this is. Like, yeah, I don't think they translated this as effectively into 3D as most of it. It's also monochrome.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you can have well, I guess this would be more along the lines of achromatic, and she's a little off achromatic, but she does have the purple, which if she didn't have the purple, I'd say she would be definitely achromatic. So just darkening her up a little bit.
I was trying to see
highlighting everything.
I was trying to see if I could make them grayscale. Not grayscale, but make them silhouette. But go on though. Go on with your thoughts.
Yes. So Dahlia's design is kind of infamous for Xenoblade 2 characters, because when they saw her, they were like, "What the heck is going on here?"
I know I was.
So, from what I've been informed with, I don't have the art book personally, but from I got my information from someone who does have the art book. Apparently, the main inspirations behind Dahlia's design was Dolly Parton Ice Skater Ice Bunny. Which...
Okay.
I mean, you can kind of see all those things in there.
I don't see Ice Skater
but
because
the way they blended them was a little funky. I've actually contemplated like doing how I would interpret the adjectives for this character design, in which case I would throw out the Dolly Parton part. You don't need her in there.
Well, they also
you
kept
just
that
have an
in
ice skater
voice.
Buddy.
The voice actress is also using a thick southern drawl as well.
Yeah,
she's got the big cartoony hands.
She do have that southern belle, which I cannot achieve very well. But yeah, so this picture actually makes her character design look okay in some senses. I like her braids, that go into the ears. Those I would definitely keep.
I like the way the
I'm
end
not
of the braid
feeling
looks...
the ice snowflake mini dress though.
See, I'm gonna flip that. I think that the ice snowflake mini dress works in the artwork and exactly in how it doesn't in 3D. I also do want to point out how the end of the braids, in a completely unrealistic way, but one that works visually, the end of the braid looks like an ear. This looks like the tip of an ear.
Yeah.
It makes no sense for an ear to be braided, but nonetheless.
No. And now we can talk about her feet, which I don't understand. I don't... Dahlia, your feet will forever be weird to me. Okay, so the point of wearing a high heel is not only to get some extra height, but it's also to make your butt look better.
Yep.
High heels need a lot of support. Generally needs a good support structure. That is not what is happening here. She essentially just has a giant nail sticking right into her heel, and
well, realism doesn't need to be that important
to walk like that
for a character design.
But
it doesn't make a lot of sense. This doesn't make a lot of sense. What's interesting though,
It's
visually here, is that this is a full foot down to here, and then they add on these giant paw toes. But this is a fully formed standing and point tiptoe foot that they just added the extra bits onto, which I think is an interesting choice.
Yeah. So it's an interesting choice in design. If it was just the foot, and there was no claw out the back of her heel, I'd be fine with it. It's just, I don't understand.
I think that Getty raises a good point, and comparing this side by side with the Vera, which I think might have a more crisp design on them, would be interesting. Maybe not inside the scope of this discussion, but definitely for a comparison point, for people following along at home, which is, all yeah. Look up the Vera from Final Fantasy, let's say Final Fantasy 12, and look up the art style of their design and compare it with this, and you can see some differences in just the mindset of the development there. There's a shish kebab, yeah, pretty much on their foot, yeah.
Yeah, kinda.
So I don't love it. It does create a very clear silhouette. It does create a unique design. It is very monochromatic, and however that. How do you phrase it?
I said achromatic because when people say monochrome, achromatic is usually what they actually mean.
I mean, this is all blue.
Blue with a little bit of purple. That's like typical ice kind of coloring.
Well, yeah, naturally. Next up, we have... Yeah, I think the monochrome would be the correct one there. I could be wrong, though, but I think monochrome it is one color. It is monochrome. It is one color, and that color is icy blue.
Monochrome is
and
one color with
it.
different values. There were different blues in there. There was
That's fair.
a good amount of cyan, a little bit more leaning towards the blue that people actually tend to think of.
Okay.
And then there was purple.
Gotcha. Aha!
Ah, yes! So, you can tell where my brain was going for most of when I was picking out these, when I was picking out these character designs. So, you probably don't know who this is.
No idea. They seem very polite, though.
They are. So, this is Dunban. He is he hot.
So just focusing on character design. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go right on ahead.
So these are some massive boots, but what strikes me in an interesting way is the amount of detail work in the pants here. It does very much look like a Castlevania character, and part of that is just the era of the outfit. Especially the upper outfit has a very strong Renaissance vibe, mid-Renaissance vibe. But I think the amount of detail work in the pants highlights them without really making them cluttered, in my eyes at least.
So, out of the game series that you know, other than like Castlevania, what game series would you say this character is from?
Honestly, the giant feet look almost Nomura-esque, in almost like a Kingdom Hearts or a The Wildlands with You way. But the top of up here is he's screaming Castlevania or Ragnarok Online. It's like there's plus like this is a an Eastern sword. This is not your epee. This is not the weapon I would expect. There's a lot of different distinct points here. Like, if I had to pick one, I would probably settle into something along the lines of Ragnarok Online. I would say something in that vein, or not Ragnarok. Or a Legend of Mana sort of thing. Bravely Default. Yes, that's a fantastic point. That's actually, I think Bravely Default is going to be.
I actually don't know Bravely Default, so that I wouldn't be able to say. But this is a character from Xenoblade Chronicles 1.
Ah, okay.
Yes. So, what about his character design? Like, what would you guess his personality is, other than polite?
Heroic. You know, this looks like they have protagonist vibes. They have this nice. What do you call that, an A-frame? I'd call that an A-frame, I guess. It's
Yeah,
is it three-quarter view A-frame?
Mm-hmm.
They look like a main character. They look either like a main character or a mentor to the main character. One of the two.
You're kind of correct on both fronts. So,
Nice.
Dunban is a part of the main cast and shows up fairly early in the game. The plot won't kill me. You're not wrong. He's definitely very heroic. He is a veteran who famously fought in a battle and lost the ability to use one of his arms and used to wield a certain sword, but now instead wields typically katana type blades. So I remember from Final Fantasy X. There are definitely comparisons. I don't know much about Final Fantasy X, but I have seen that character from Kingdom Hearts.
I don't think I can get a grayscale, or not a. I don't think I can get a silhouette working.
Yeah.
Best I can do is something like this. Oh, there we go. There we go. I found it.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah. So look at this silhouette. Look at this.
That's a strong
silhouette.
lad. That's a very defined silhouette. It's very clear. You would know instantaneously who that is.
They definitely very important.
You did it in white for just.
Who's that character?
But yeah, that works well. I think, again, it's one of those things where it is important how consistent it is across different characters, but little things like the boot size here, right? If this was the only character that had these giant stomping boots, that would look awkward, right?
I didn't really realize, like, looking at the game, how big everyone's feet were. And now that you've pointed out, I'm like, oh, they are kind of, like, edging on the side of Kingdom Hearts sized footwear.
Yep. Plus they have the Nomura style accessory over on here. The extra belts.
I actually don't know if Anuma worked on this one.
What was the game again?
Xenoblade Chronicles 1.
That was one? Okay.
The one that started it all. That now has my second favorite story after I have played through all of Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
That's Kokojima.
Okay. Takahashi did. Interesting. Very interesting.
Shall we continue on then?
Yeah!
Yo, much.
Okay, so I mainly tried to stick to character designs from video games, but there were a couple that I decided not to stick strictly to a video game on. This one I did because Jade requested. So this is the name escapes me currently. You probably know better than I do.
Flagon Machi. I know they go by Machi primarily.
Yeah, Machi.
their actual
TF2
primary.
engineer, but anime. I mean, kinda.
Machi no X-Flayon is their actual name.
Yes. So I don't know a whole lot about this character. Other than they are VTuber. Actually, no. I can talk on like the point of VTuber designs.
Go ahead.
So what mostly do you think of this character?
So there's a lot of interesting things going on here, some of which I like, some of which I actually don't love. Right out of the gate, the big key points here are the shields, right? These shields are giant, enormous, and are visually in the way, right? I feel like the shields detract from the model, frankly. Likewise, as is the case with most VTuber models, the posing is painfully static. Like, this is actually the VTuber model. Like, this is not a picture of, of them, like, this is a picture of them how they look when they're on screen. And the arms are just dead by the side. The arms are just, and they look static. Now, that's fine for a lot of the VTuber aesthetic.
Leaned a little to the right, but
barely. And that's why my hand tracking, I sometimes even use the hand tracking when I'm not doing a talking stream, just because a little bit of motion here, just a little bit of like, even if I'm, where am I here? Even if like we're only doing from here, just a little bit of motion in the arms.
You're still seeing the armies.
You're still noticing this. Like, even if you can't see the hands, you're still noticing just a little bit of motion here. That's honestly the reason, a big part of the reason why I opted for a 3D design as opposed to a new 2D design, is for that ability. And I mention it because you can see the difficulty that it can bring right here. Is if you show the character down to here, the shoulders are never going to move. Ever. They're just never going to move.
Yeah.
And yeah. And like, the character moves their head back and forth, and the entire rig will shimmy, but it'll never actually have anything that looks anime, let alone actually looks realistic.
Yes.
And
so
I'm just gonna slam all of I'm just gonna slam all of my nitpicks first. What are these? What are these? What? Can someone please tell me what's going on?
The most impractical running shoes ever.
They're sneakers with spikes on the front. That's what I'm getting out of this. They are sneakers. These are like sneakers with just. Okay. Also,
sneakers, but what if they had cat claws?
You can see the belly button, which means that this material is sheer. This material keeps on going down to here. You can see his belly button clearly, and even see some stomach muscle definition here. And this is the same material, which raises questions that I don't think they're ready to answer. Now, that said, I think the model is strong for what it does well. It is still a good silhouette. I can't grayscale it out here because it's not transparency, but it is a good silhouette. It is a this outfit up here. Keep in mind the model's mostly going to be shown from the chest up. This is good. The hair is beautiful. The hair is amazingly well rigged. The entire model is very well rigged and well acted. The person who uses it does a very good job of using the model as well. The detail work on the side here is exquisite, and the little details that are visible on a regular stream, which again, most of the time you see this model, it's going to look. Yeah,
I was actually going to ask you to zoom up.
Yep.
It's like, can you zoom up to where we would be seeing the model?
This is where you're intended to see the model. And here, the eyes are beautiful. The hair is beautiful. This collar, beautiful. This little piece is going on here. I think that looks pretty nice. This jacket, cool. The detail work on here highlights and brings out the eyes and brings out the details and the colors in the hair. So I think it's a good model for what it's for, but I don't necessarily...
Yes.
But I have gripes about the overall design.
Yes. So VTuber designs are a little bit different than video game designs, or general online avatar designs, or anime, even most traditional animation designs. Because you're only going to be viewing it from one perspective most of the time.
Right.
The designs tend to be a little top heavy. Not so much that like you feel like the character could fall over from over designing most of the time.
Top focused maybe rather than heavy, just because.
Yes,
Yeah,
but from the chest up, your character design needs to be recognizable silhouette wise, which this accomplishes very well. And that's because your VTuber avatar is part of your branding. Jade is a very recognizable kobold.
Yes. Even in my 2D model, I made sure that it was... I focused on recognizability before I focused on anything else, you know? I wanted to make sure that I was unique. I mean, that's the reason I'm a kobold. I've talked about this before on the channel.
Yes.
I'm a kobold because there were too many anime VTubers that looked too indistinguishable. The number of anime VTubers with cat ears was just, you know, through the roof. It's like, I wanted something that stood out, you know? Like...
Yeah.
It's not, you know, am I a furry? Kind of now, because I've met a lot of cool people, but like at the beginning, like, no, not really. It was I chose, you know, the kobold because I wanted it to be Debbie. When Debbie is in a collab, they stand out. You know, because that's a Nichi-sanji VTuber. When they're there, because they have a little gremlin imp model, they stand out. And that makes a big difference in recognizability.
Debbie is very friend-shaped, too.
True. But, yeah. It's a great design for what it's trying to do. And it's trying to do two things. One, look good from here. Two, sell models.
Yep.
Let's be honest. Let's call it what it is, right? And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. And if you are working in, you know, any industry where you're trying to get your art sold, you need to consider that. You genuinely do need to consider, is your model, is your whatever you designed art-wise going to look good on a shelf? And yeah, this
Like,
is a
look
good...
at Chibi Staff here. Look at her. Look how tiny and cute she is. Look how friend-shaped.
Wouldn't you want a little markable plush of Chibi-Sap?
Obviously. So I think this is... So
And
despite
that would
all
be
of my
a
gripes...
good point to...
If this was a model that was going to be shown full body all the time, I would say that I don't like it. If this was a model that was going to be in a video game that would be animated, I don't think a lot of the things in here animate well. Like, how do you really, you know, like, I don't see how some of this stuff is going to necessarily rig for animation in it very effectively. If this was going to be a model for, you know, an anime, I would even say, like, I don't necessarily know if I like that direction. But for what it's trying to do, for what the model is, that's what's important. And for what the model is, it's excellent. This is a good model for what the model is trying to do. That's my 2 cents. Also, color-wise, red and black looks fantastic together.
It does.
Yeah. And, like... the actor really sells it. The actor absolutely carries the model well. I should watch more of their stuff.
Yes. Alright, moving onward.
Yeah. Pacha. Then there's this guy.
Now we have someone from the same generation. A
Same
lot more
generation.
simplified than the last time, the last VTuber design we saw.
Yes. Look at the arms. The arms are actually falling as if a person has arms. Right?
Yep.
Like, these arms, look at this lot, like, that is falling dead, right? Here, just a
The lad,
tiny
he do
bit
be a
of...
stick.
Yeah, but like just a tiny bit of curl in the fingers, a tiny bit of fold here to imply an angle here, a tiny bit of slouch in the shoulders makes this model look more alive, makes it look more like a live character than this shoulder drop. Arm straight down. It's a clean line straight down, but it is just a drop into a dead hand. Like, right out of the gate, I like this model better for many reasons, but this, I think, I like the way it's presenting more.
Yes. So, I don't remember his name either, but I do quite like this design. I like the flumph around the collar.
Yeah, and again, that's going to be very important because that's one of the parts that's always going to be visible, right? That's going to be one of the parts that's always going to be apparent in the regular view. Yep.
Silhouette-wise, it sets them apart from someone else who might have a similar hair design.
Yep.
And the very shirtless body, torso, in the room is yes.
Yeah. Also, this blue here, this little blue highlight here, mirrors this blueness of the hand.
Yeah. It draws your attention of, oh, that hand is blue.
Now, Hololive doesn't use hand tracking. They don't.
Nope.
None of the models ever have. Well, no, I guess it's not entirely true with Roboco, but like for the Live 2D models, they don't have hand tracking. So, I think it's almost a shame that this little detail here is probably going to be missed by most people. Like, that's just something that when you're looking at the model as on stream, people are not going to notice. Yeah, fairly
but
normal.
That's why you have different types of streams, so that way you can actually show off the model.
The hair sort of has a bit of the, retro samurai aesthetic. Which in turn is complemented by the Hakama-style samurai pants, except made in a more modern style.
Yep. I love the look of the Hakama pants. They're very... yes!
Personally, I think that from a character design standpoint, how would you compare these two? Artistic, as far as like the art goes, I think like this is a better piece of artwork. But from a design standpoint, this doesn't have all the nitpicks that I had here. But it also doesn't have like the cool highlights like we have up here, and it does have the tattoo hidden. What are your thoughts? Keep on.
Yeah, hold on. So Giddy says Hololive idols use it for the controller assets in 3D, but that's it. The assets for the controllers are actually just animated GIFs.
Yeah, that's a separate thing entirely. They actually use
their
regular model.
Yeah, it's a separate thing.
And then overlay the controller here.
Yeah. So, like, if I really wanted to, I could make, like, a little drawing tablet to go just right in front of Chibi Saph when I'm doing my art streams. I haven't, because I don't know why.
Yeah. Like, I have the benefit where... right now I have a controller in my hands. It looks like this when I do that, because... Yeah.
You look like you're just kind of scheming with your hands in front of you.
The fun fact, I guess I'll announce it now, I am getting new hands soon.
Woo! Current hands are great, but you also want new hands.
Yeah, I want less pobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the design of this. I like the colors, the beautiful contrast with that blue. Just a little bit of blue, right here, and a recollection of that color contrast down here as well.
Yep.
I like it.
So I really love how limited the use of blue was. Because like main color definitely orange, cannot be argued. But it's a little bit there on the shoes, a little bit there on the arm, in like that side towel, assumably there to wipe sweat off the body.
Sure.
And then if I'm correct, blue eyes as well. So one way that you can use color is to draw the eye to where you want someone to look. So here, it's used to draw you to the face. Which, like, even just that little bit of blue, it's not much. It's there, and it looks good. And what do you immediately look at when you see this character? You're looking at his face.
And that's also helped by the brighter colors of the fur here, which draws it naturally up as well. And the amount of wildness in the hair also catches the eye. It's a good model.
The
it's
shape
a really
language.
good design.
Everywhere else, he seems to be very cube shape.
Yeah.
This design is good, but my man is a box.
Jade spots tend to draw attention to their cute eyes and keep attention there. Aw. Well, what it is for me is that the pink outlines the face. Like, if you look at it, there's basically a circle of pink right here, right? The pink is
Circle
all the areas that are outside.
Towards.
Yeah.
It travels inward with your spots.
The spots
Then
are
you
there
end
to
up looking in
complement the
your
outside,
eyes.
and the outside makes what is a unround face into a round one. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
But
You become very French shaped.
The pink effectively frames a blue face, and that makes the inhuman design look more human and welcoming. And then the dots themselves just sort of complement it and add a bit of, well, make it look like less flat, right? I mean, having a few little dots on the side just adds color to the cheeks and helps define where cheeks are as opposed to, not. Ina!
Ah, yes, Ina. So I really love Ina. Her design is mostly like going off of Japanese, but it's also somewhat Eldritch inspired.
And a little Italian.
And just the ever so slightest bit Italian. I think what I love most about Ina's design is it's fairly simple compared to a lot of the other Hololive designs. And even though it is simple,
it's elegant.
She is still very recognizable. Like, you look at this girl's silhouette, that's Ina. Like, even without the massive tentacles behind her, you see the little fat flaps, the little tentacles, like hair thingies around her face that frame her face. You see the halo, and it's just Ina.
Now, I do want to point out something. Obviously, we're using is this fan art or is this official art? Anyways,
we're
not using
this is
model.
official art.
Okay. We're not using the VTuber model. This is not Ina's model that we're showing, unlike the other ones.
No.
And that is relevant to point out, because the other ones we're talking about how it turns into the VTuber model. There is one point on Ina that I want to point out that is very odd to me. It's this pattern here, which you can also see down here. This pattern here, which is also on her first loading screen that I don't think she used much afterwards, and her first line of merch, which she doesn't really use much anymore, is very much inspired by the Gucci style of fashionista handbags. And that's part of what he was coming with the Italian, not as well as this part, which we can't really see here, is sort of more of a fashionista is the best word I can think of off the top of my head, but a high fashion sort of concept fashion, which is so at odds with her personality, because that is not at all who Ina is. If you ever watched her streams, she's laid back, chill, relaxed. She doesn't have that high fashion vibe, but her original design has multiple elements of that, and later elements of later designs toned it down and brought it more in line with how she actually acts.
Yes.
Now, Hololive, well, most agencies, most all idol agencies, you don't choose your character. Your character is given to you, and you are to take the role of that character. You don't get to choose your character. So, when this was given to Ina...
I mean, personality is generally matched as best as they can.
Yeah. But I find it interesting on Ina in particular, because there are... on the whole, it is a very, very good match, but there's a handful of design elements that seemed out of place on the original model that they cleaned up in later iterations of it.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of the hoity-toityness that they had in the original drafts.
Yeah. Even this pose, it's like, oh, hello.
Like, I do love the asymmetry in the legs. I do love the naturalistic shoes. The asymmetry continues into the arms up here. I love that. I adore this little wing skirt. This, what do you call that? I don't even know what you would call that, but that little wing wrap. I guess wrap. There.
Yeah. Well, as far as I can tell, based on like the animations I've seen from both Hololive and like fan works, because I have watched Hollow Myth's Bad End because it's a good animation. And it seems like those are attached to her body, which like I can understand perfectly why she keeps them where she keeps them. If they are attached to her body, it's like, those are out of the way.
You mean the butt wings?
They're... I mean...
Uh-huh.
Yes, they're on her butt, but they're also, like, closer to her hips. Look.
Butt wings
are typically used for succubus characters, and Ina's definitely not trying to seduce you. She's trying to be your friend.
I think that Ina's design of them is the best that I've seen. Though butt wings is a fairly common trope, especially in some anime depictions that I just generally don't like because I think it's silly. But Ina's makes it look more like a wrap skirt that's coming around her hips, which I think works works better than most iterations of that concept I've seen. Personally,
it actually kind of reminds me of a skirt that you have.
True though.
Skirt goes spinny.
Skirt goes spinny. But yeah, Ina's design is very good. Ina's design is fantastic. Onwards?
Onwards.
Yo, it's Harbor. So
hey Jade, you want to tell us about who this is?
Absolutely. Harbor is the newest character in Valorant. They are a water mage. They have a wrist piece that has the ability to control water, and well, they're also an Indian military operative. I think that the artistic design here, I wish we could, you could just zoom in on this, but the wrist piece is a very big part of the design. Now, here we're talking about first-person shooter design. How much of your character do you see in a first-person shooter?
You see their armies.
You see their armies, and that's about it. It's true. In a first-person shooter, you see very little of your own character aside from their voice and their hands, which is why having his magical power be attached to the wrist allows you to actually show it off and highlight it in-game, because when you switch to any of his magic powers, it comes up in the animation. You can actually see him grab something off it, grab that little orb off his wrist and tossed it with water flowing outwards. It works in a way, because first-person shooter design is different from MMO design, is different from VTuber design, is different from everything else, right? Other than that, it's a fairly generic outfit, right? It's eye-catching because of the color scheme and the art style. The art style is beautiful. But overall, aside from this little inlaid lapel here with some Indian style, I want to say embroidery, but at least say fat design there. There's nothing fancy about this outfit. Embellishment, thank you. There's nothing really going on here. These are just cargo pants that are teal. These are just, you know, knee guards. This little cape part that comes down from here is a nice touch that adds a little bit of interest to this part of the body, where otherwise it would just be like pants. It'd just be pants. But you can do just pants well. I'm not saying that, but the way they flow together here, the big focus is entirely right here on this bracelet, because in a big way the character is the bracelet. Like, that's the part of the character that you interact with when you play them.
Yep. And again, with like line of action, man's a little curved.
Yep.
He's got his hip popped, but you follow the line of action. It goes into the wrist, which then goes into the face, which is yes. Whoever this artist is, please teach me.
And the wrist has its own line of action. You have this beautiful curved line of complementing line of action, which is going in the same direction as the basic line of action, just exaggerated, right? Instead of coming up here and going whoosh, you have a separate line of action that just says violently forward and then back, but in the same general shape as the whole body. And then it's balanced by having the gun come out on this side.
Yeah! Because where is the gun pointing to? The face!
Yep, the line of this comes right up here. Right up. But I don't think, no. The gun line of action is more of a continuation of the wrist piece than the face, I'd say.
Ah, yes, the outfit draws Jade's attention. Totally not the toned arm with the tattoo. To guide the attention there. The thin, well-groomed beard to accentuate his jaw, and his thick, angular brow leading to the eyes.
I mean, it can be both. It can be both. It's
both. I totally didn't put Harbor on here because
Harbor hot. Yeah. I'm trying to stay professional here. Thank you. But no, Harbor hot. No question there. But
very hot.
But
so hot they had to give him the water element.
True. But yeah, I think it's interesting how you can effectively take what is effectively just one highlight piece and really just design an entire character around it, right? If you were to tell me that that they made this bracelet and then just made the rest of the character around the bracelet, I'd believe you. You know? Because that's how it looks. You know, that's how it feels to me. And that's not a bad thing. I love it. It's a good example of how a fairly regular outfit can still look fantastical with just a tiny little bit of push. Yeah, you gave him power of water because of how thirsty. Yeah, that checks out. So how thirsty he was.
Look, I have plenty of water here on my desk, and I did that for a reason. One, so I wouldn't have to get up, and two, so I stay hydrated during stream.
I wonder if I could get Jade to talk about some of your character designs. Not on this particular stream, because we have a set itinerary here. But, yeah, at some point, probably.
Yeah!
Onwards!
Yeah!
Now, this is a much different design, and I like it.
Yes. So, I want you to go, based off of what you know, with what medium do you think this character is in?
I'll say anime. I'll say it's an anime character. Either that, or it's a anime or manga. Yeah. It does look a little bit Monster Hunter, which I can get into why I feel that later.
All right. So, you saw visual novel, okay. Well, Saw works too. All right. So, this character design comes from the people behind Violet Evergarden. Fantastic anime. I refuse to watch it because I refuse to cry.
It's okay to cry, Sapphi.
One day when I'm in a crying mood, maybe I shall perceive that anime, but that day is not today. So, this character is, believe it or not, from a music video.
Okay.
Music video by a Japanese song artist named Eve. And the animation is absolutely gorgeous. But looking at this character's eye, because of how many tiny little details are in it, you would not assume necessarily that it's from something that is animated, like digitally animated. Not with a puppet, not with a 3D model even. And it is gorgeous all the way. I have a couple more pictures of this character, I believe, in the slides.
You do.
I do. Yes. So, I got these via some of Eve's community posts about it, and this is like
Is that a different one?
big
Or is that same?
character design. Yes. The look at how pretty it is.
The forest priestess sort
It's
of vibe.
eye-catching, and you want that in a music video.
It's a very strange silhouette too. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The veil obliterates the silhouette by design, clearly, but the veil
Mm-hmm.
removes any of the upper body silhouette that you would normally expect to see. But let's go back to the first picture for now.
Yes. So, this girl, I don't have a name for her, but she is simple village girl, and she is very, very, very pale and has very white hair. From what I can tell, based on like the story and the animation, this girl was either was raised in a culture where it was believed that a black swan would take a child of white away in some way. And the way they twist this is they turn it into a love story, and it's absolutely adorable and very, very gay. It's so cute. I need to show this to you after stream.
So this patchwork style here looks quilted. It looks like it's done with quilting, which is a very, I'm going to say rural for lack of a better phrase.
Yep.
the
Very,
aesthetic?
very small area. Like, even in the animation, they were able to show that a little bit, is that girl lives in a very low populous area.
Whereas the upper body here, this cloak really reminds me of a traveling cloak. So right out of the character design, right out of the gate, as somebody who has, some interest in understanding of medieval clothing design, not much, but some, I feel like right out of the immediately I'm seeing somebody who comes from a small community going out into the world.
So, kind of. I think mostly what they did it for was to adjust for temperature. She lives in a very cold climate, which you can kind of see with the fur, the fingerless gloves, like gloves not having fingers, so she can still use them to. She can now still have tactability, dexterity. With her fingers. I'm over here like tactile. No. But yeah, so some of the things are just for ornamentation / like holding all the skirts up. Like, with the other picture, it shows like, oh, that red dress is under there. It's the main dress that she wears. You can see the wonderful vest and belt that's holding, like, presumably holding everything, like just giving her a little bit of definition and making it sure so the vest can fit over her figure.
How do you feel about designing her small clothes? I'm assuming that you never actually see the small clothes with a slip in the.
No, you
in the
don't. Well, okay, you see one of those things.
Because I'm always a big fan of iceberg design. The idea of designing more than the viewer is going to see, so that there's more that you can appreciate. So that you have the foundation of what you are building the character. You don't have to necessarily show everything.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's not inherently not necessary for the character's presentation.
It's like even with like the first preview picture we showed, you could tell like, oh, this character is from fantasy like olden times. Clearly not a whole lot of electricity happening. And what I like about the second picture is that you can see, oh, she has foundational clothing. Look at that! And what did they have in olden times? Foundational clothing!
Mm-hmm.
They had the first layer, which was usually just to keep like body oils off of more expensive / harder to wash fabrics. Then they had clothing on top of that to give more of like a fashionable shape. Which gets more and more complex as you go through the years. And still has not entirely left our society, which I'm fine with, for the most part.
It's also noteworthy that people would wear their clothes until they were dirty, right? You know, nowadays you wear something a couple times, you throw it in the wash, or even sometimes even once. Whereas that was the point of underwear, of your small clothes, was that this would get dirty on a daily basis, but this, everything else would not. You could wear that all week, all month, very likely, without it meaningfully getting dirty, because only the small clothes was actually, getting
most likely also having multiple pairs of underwear, as opposed to like you'd probably see maybe one or two dresses, but that's about it. So when you hear stories about like, oh, they escaped with only their clothes on their backs, or they left with only the clothes on their backs, or put all their clothes on their bodies before they left, it was a lot more feasible that someone could do that back then.
Right, because you would wear the same clothing, aside from the small clothes, for a week at a time.
Even looking in my own closet, which I can do, I'm like, I could not wear all of those at once.
And this one is just very different.
Yes.
Shall we move onward then?
Very pretty. Yeah. We can move onward. Ah!
More of a shonen style.
Alright. Yep.
So... Okay. Teeth aesthetic repeated, teeth aesthetic not visible on the mouth. Interesting.
Yeah. So, this is another character from a music video, but as I found out after I put this in the queue for things we were going to look over today, this character is actually also from a manga, and I'm kind of really wanting that manga now. I can't remember the name of it, but just based on what I've seen from the 2 music videos that this character is seen in, it's really interesting. Yeah, so teeth are kind of the aesthetic because there's a lot of eating in those music videos, surprisingly. But yeah, and the mouth bag is actually a separate character entirely.
Sort of like a
which
is it Bleach that does stuff like that?
I don't know. This character is not from Bleach though, but you can tell that some of these were just, hey, look at this pretty design, and also this is not by the same people who made who was in charge of the animation for the previous animated video music video I mentioned, but it's the same song artist.
Okay.
Yeah. There's actually another character from the same music video that I think I have in here as well.
If it's the next one, then I think so. But let me just say here that
It might be the next one.
this outfit has nothing going on.
No.
It's remarkable only in its unremarkability. It's just a regular outfit. But the way that it's worn, the way that it's cut off here, the way that it is cut off here with what appears to be a prosthetic leg, though that might just be the angle, with these, the gloves.
It's just his legs. Boy is a stick.
makes a more compelling character than the sum of its parts. The bowl cut haircut of the hair dropping down to here and cutting off kind of matches the way the shirt drops down and cuts off. Kind of matches the way the pants come down and cut off before the leg. That's kind of a repeated aesthetic across all of it.
It's adding shape to where there is very little.
And repeating shape.
Yeah, so it's like look, he got big jacket, big pants energy. And that's what I want constantly.
I believe this is from the same thing then?
Yes.
It was just the next one, and
so this is from the same animated music video. A little girl, she's a little tiny dragon. She used to be a bigger dragon. The bigger dragon lady seen right next. And like, look, she's so cute. She's like wearing a shirt that's too big for her body. You
and
can
now
tell
we
it's
see
like
why. We see why we have the teeth aesthetic here is because it is carried over into this model with with having the sharp fanged teeth.
Yeah, so I definitely love whomever the artist is that worked on this.
I love the two-tone hair too. I love the way the hair is a different color. So the hair is designed like a cape, right? The inside is a different color than the outside, which hair does not do, in case you were unaware of that. But it works for a fantastical character. This character looks, more like a little imp or demon character.
Yeah. So, what I like is that you can definitely picture the two standing next to each other. The little dragon girl and, our resident seemingly fighter kind of tough boy.
He does not look tough.
But you can tell, like, just based on their clothing, that they can't. Yeah, he's tougher than he looks. Or at least he tries to act that way.
Not by design, not by model design and character design, which is what we're supposed to be covering here. I don't care who the character is actually. I care about their designs today, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing in this character design that reads as strong, tough boy. Like a little bit of the stance being a bit forward-weighted, but nothing on the character reads as being tough. It's scrawny, it's thin, it's unadorned, it has a very generic haircut. Nothing here reads as being a tough guy.
Yeah. All right. What social class do you think he's from?
I'm gonna say lower, simply because of the lack of adornment or notations in the outfit.
He doesn't have a home. You can kind of tell, like, haircut, you can see that a character could easily give themselves a bowl haircut. The very simple clothing. And the fact that man is scrawny, probably can't afford a whole lot of food.
Frosty Scales points out that, an unassuming thing can be very dangerous, and that's true, but that's not good character design. That can be true, but that means that you have to work against your character design to make them intimidating in the animation or in the setting or in the narrative, instead of letting the character design bring you there. Instead of letting the character design bring you and the viewer into a set of expectations, what you're doing is you're subverting a set of expectations, which doesn't always go as you'd hoped. It doesn't always work as well as you'd like to pretend that it would. because you want to pretend. We all want to pretend that would work weird. But the fact of the matter is that the characters, the viewers' expectations are going to be based on the character design. The character design reads a certain way. The character design reads a very specific way here. And yeah, lower class, homeless, scrawny boy who is weak and drab, uninteresting, you know. And then you can overcome that by showing them, you know, something interesting happening to them and showing how they can become stronger. But that's a decision. You can't do that by accident. You have to make a decision that's the kind that you want to subvert an expectation, instead of saying, oh, whatever, they're just, you know, it's just how I design the character. No, when you design a character, you need to have an intent behind it. Character design requires intent, and you can see it here. The design here does a lot of work, right? I'm focusing on the smaller version as opposed to the larger one on the left. You have the cuteness factor. You have the way the hair is draping over the arm looks, you know, again sort of mimics the idea of the cloak of the you know that the hair has, you know, that's very clearly going for with the two tones here that is never visible from the back, but is always visible on the inside, even around the head.
Yeah.
Here.
Very good character design. Alright.
And then this, I assume, is the same thing as the next one on the list. No? Maybe
yes.
not?
So, what, do you think this is protagonist or antagonist?
Protagonist, because it mirrors the teeth design that that this character has. Either that
Actually,
I would
no.
say that really, like everything about them reads as evil,
No.
but everything about them reads as evil. Obviously, horns, the completely inhuman silhouette, the excess hands, the hands going out of the way to have impossibly, you know, dangerous talons and claws. But because my read was based on actually following the motif of the main character, which makes, to me, implies a connection between the two. This arm piece with the teeth on it, this bag with the teeth on it, that's their only defining feature aside from the bowl cut, right? The bowl cut here, the bowl cut here, the bowl cut here is their only feature aside from the teeth. Whereas this character has the same aesthetic of teeth.
There's a lot of, like, teeth going on throughout the entire thing, but I think it
True.
does, like, serve to tie in the characters together of, these characters are related in some way to each other, they have a connection in some way. Yeah. I'll show you the animations that these characters are a part of after stream. We could do that as community night.
True.
Yeah.
So these are listed in numerical order. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9-2, 9-3, which is why those characters were from the same thing. 10, 11, 12, gay 13. This one is
forgot
numbered
about that.
gay 13.
I could only really find one good picture of this character that I wanted to show, and this is what I meant by this music video is very gay.
Okay, so that's the same character from
Look
before.
at them!
I like the detail work on the hair, the way it's falling. I like the way that's put together. It looks very Amano-esque, honestly, which I love.
And then we've got the character right next to her.
The
So
light and the dark, the contrast between light and dark, the contrast between red and blue, the contrast between the pairing of the golds.
Yeah.
Gold.
So
gold,
what I like here is like the characters appear tied together because of like the gold and the red, like the blue on the headdress sort of thing on the Black Swan character, and the red of the dress mirroring the red in the eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
You can tell these characters, they're like meant to be. And they're gay.
They're made to complement each other.
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I forgot that this picture was in here, and then I was like, oh wait. I forgot about Gay 13. How can I forget about Gay 13? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
Interesting. The wraps are very nice here. Same character,
Mhm.
clearly. Actually, let me
Yeah.
see. One sec. Let me just pull these up side by side, if I may.
Yep. Feathers, yep.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there is actually a motif. There is actually wraps down here, which I hadn't really noticed before.
Mm-hmm.
But that complements these wraps over here.
Yeah.
That's a nice touch.
So you can very much tell that these character designs were meant to like sit side by side.
Yeah.
Which is excellent. You can also see like one is in furs, like is of the land, and then the other, very feathery hair. But it's done so well. It's done so well.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Notice the braids and shorter, more kept hair and the very loose, flowy, long hair. Yes! You can tell one is very much not really around people, and the other one is around people a lot more often.
Yep, you got the loner stance with, that sort of sitting and pondering pose.
Like, yeah, I think they did like the moth aesthetic for the white character on purpose. Just like just judging on what I've seen.
Yeah.
This collab was not an excuse for me to show Jade really pretty character designs. Totally not.
Oh, yo!
Oh, you know this character. I
Yeah.
have this little idea of what this character is. So, this is, what's his name?
What is
Snatcher.
his name? Yes.
Snatcher from Hat in Time.
This character thrives on its animation. Its beautiful, big, over-the-top, cartoony animation really is what makes this character shine, and the design of it highlights that. Its big expression reads even when the character is moving too quickly, right? Even when the character is moving at a weird angle or too quickly, the expression is so bright and so vibrant and so crafted that it still reads, it still parses. Very old school squash and stretch, absolutely. Yeah, the animation in this character is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
The animation in everything in that game is phenomenal.
Yeah. I haven't played through Hat in Time, but I know about this character because I watched someone's thing for a fan-made song for this character, which I originally thought was just a cover of the Boss song.
I mean, if you want to watch someone play Hat in Time before they became good at streaming, there is an archive of that on my YouTube.
Yeah.
I was not very good back then.
It
I'm
has
so much
split.
better now.
You're a lot better now, but your Hat in Time one was good. I haven't watched it, but like I saw like a little bit of it in the beginning of almost every stream. I was like, okay. It's like, before we get into too much spoiler territory for me.
Yeah, but yeah, this character, the design of the character is there to push the animation that they want to do with the character, and that's how I feel about it. And the animation they worked
Very
with the
simple
character
shapes.
works very well. Hat in Time was one of the best of Old Jade.
The best of Old Jade. Aww.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll accept that. I'll accept that. That was one of my better early playthroughs.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's actually an interesting point that Phantos raises, and I think that's worth discussing. The hat is not part of the character, except that it totally is.
Ah.
The hat
Oh.
is the main character's hat that this character stole, but this character was written from the ground up to steal the hat, so they were written with the hat in mind. Because if you write the plot first, then you know that the character is going to steal the hat, and that's going to be like the whole character's gimmick is that they snatched the hat and are being evil about it. Then is the hat part of the character? No, but if you know plot-wise that the character is going to be making use of the hat, then you design the character around the hat, even though it's not part of the quote-unquote character.
Man looks like he's supposed to be wearing the hat.
Yeah, the character was designed to wear the hat, and it works very well on them, but it's not their hat, but it's still designed around the idea of that hat, because you write the plot before you finish the character models. I think that's a very important thing to do, especially when we're talking about video game animation. I think that's a very important any sort of movies as well. If you're doing any sort of storyboarding, write a good chunk of your plot first, so that you can plan your plot around your design, right? Like you were saying before, these two characters didn't just happen to meet; they were designed from the ground up to look like they are, were paired, to be a complement to each other.
Yeah.
Right? Like we saw in, this guy. This is very clearly using many of the motifs and aesthetics of the other characters. They're clearly meant to go in the same world. This character was meant to have this hat. Would you agree with that?
Yep.
Man being big with a tiny hat. Look, tiny hats can be an aesthetic.
Oh, absolutely. Especially if you're going to the goth-elitist aesthetic, where tiny hats are a part of, are a common part of it.
Tiny hats serve no function other than I like them.
Tiny hats rule. That is all.
Yes.
What about Jade
What
with the giant
about
hat?
Jade
Also,
with the giant hat?
I considered a tiny hat actually on this character. I considered a little tiny hat here. And I actually do want to commission a hat for this character at some point. But one thing I noticed on my old model, actually, let me pull up my old model real quick.
Oh, we're seeing old Jade.
Yeah. On my older design, you'll notice that I don't have those forehead spikes anymore. Right?
Yeah.
The only reason those forehead spikes existed is because without them, this entire area, without the forehead spikes, this entire area was just one giant blank canvas that looks very boring. Everything from the eyes to the top of the head was just one static mat. Now,
I mean, we
is
could
that
have
true
drawn
here?
tic-tac-toe on your forehead.
Right. Is that true here? Less so, because the face is more squashed in general. That this doesn't look as blank than this did without the horns. So with this model, we decided, we don't need the horns anymore. The horns are no longer necessary. The horns are no longer necessary to carry to fill the gap in the model.
Yeah, and it makes you genuinely look a lot softer. Like Bloodborne hat. I don't know.
Yep, Bloodborne hat is actually one of the ones that I was considering. That's actually correct. Bloodborne hat for this model was actually part of the original plan. It just didn't get completed when I made the model, and I haven't recommissioned it for any since. But yeah, that's exactly the hat. The Bloodborne Hunter's hat is exactly what I wanted. Yes, it's also easier to head pat without spikes. This is true. But I just wanted to point that out with regards to what we were talking about before. Yeah.
Yep.
Cha. Oh, hello. Cute.
Do you know who this character is?
I know what they're from, but I don't know who they are.
Okay, so, all right. So this character is from Sakuna, Rice and Ruin.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Sakuna. What?
No, talk.
Okay. You're like, talk, please. So this is Sakuna, and as you can tell, she is something rice related. This is but one of her outfits. Yeah. So, very simple design right here. Sakuna of Rice and Ruin is a 2D platformer. Well, not 2D. It's a platform built in a 3D scape with 2D parts of it, if that makes any sense. It's side-scrolling without, like, automatically
2.5D.
scrolling kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
I don't.
2.5D.
I can't describe video game terms very well. I'm trying my best, though.
Well, we're here to talk about the art, not the game. So.
Yeah. So, notice. Okay, so posing, very dynamically posed here, very excellent.
Strong line of action, something we've missed in the last couple of arts.
Yeah. And, like, surprisingly, there's a lot of triangles going on. Like, well, both triangles and squares. So, you can mix what shapes are being used in a character design in order to illustrate character's personality based on, like, what shapes you use. So, as I pointed out with Zook and Mayday, squares are for more, like, foundational, or sometimes they can be used in very stubborn characters, which, yeah, that's Sakuna. And then triangles can be used for very driven characters, which is also Sakuna.
So I love how traditional.
She's a little selfish.
I love how traditional this outfit is. Like, everything says, farmer, right? You have the simple leg wraps. You have, the belt, with with the seedlings. You have a fairly generic shirt, but up here is where the character really sells itself in my eyes. Aside from having, the hat being a bit embellished, you also have this detailing of the weight of, the hair pieces here. You have, I think it's an interesting. I like the design. I like it a lot, actually.
Very, very traditional. Something you would see in ancient Japan.
Yeah. Not even ancient. I don't think we can go that far back.
Yeah. I know I have a couple more pictures of Sakuna in the thing. If you would please pull them up. Yes! So you can see it a little bit more here, the more triangle in her character design. You see it in her eyebrows. You can see how, like, the hair on the sides of her head that kind of frame her face reflect both the triangles and the squares. And then you've got this beautiful, beautiful, bright, warm color to kind of offset how cold the rest of her character design is. And in this picture especially, it really draws you to the face.
So just pulling this up for a sec.
Oh yeah, we could have done yeah, so even in silhouette mode, you look at that, it's like, oh, that's someone who takes care of, like, farming type stuff.
Yeah, he's farmer.
Excellent communication of who the character is. So here we see the character in a different form, still very, like, farming tied,
Yep.
even in the design.
And the weapon is
with the giant hoe.
Yep.
Is like bigger than her. But we also now have this scarf. It's this type of scarf is seen in a lot of like godly art in traditional Japanese artwork, which okay, so what does that tell you about her? It tells you that she's some sort of deity related kind of thing, which yes she is. And then you see the broken sword at her side, which is based off of how swords used to be before the katana was in Japan. And then her the hides.
Ancient relic.
You can tell this character. She's got a lot going on, but it's tied in beautifully. It doesn't ever feel like it's too much.
It's a nice design. Onwards.
And very cute.
Speaking of cute, we have some absolutely stinking adorable designs here.
Yeah. So. Yep. So this is Hat Kid and Bow Kid. Both from A Hat in Time.
Yep.
I'd have to ask Serenity about. Well, I guess. Well, have you seen Bow Kid?
Yeah.
Well, other than looking at her right now. Yeah, so I really like these designs. They're very, very cute and very stylized. And like putting them up against Snatcher, they're very different, but for whatever reason, it doesn't feel like they're part of a different game. They still feel like they're part of the same game.
Right. It's very cartoony, and it just owns that. It owns that designation. The oversized zipper.
Yeah, I'm toony. So what?
The oversized zipper helps make the character look smaller by contrast. Having the tiny boots with really simple textures on most things helps bring the character down even further, so it's almost like an action figure. The cleanliness, like there's not a lot of extra texture or detail, which I think it works in its favor, right? Now this has texture over here, but it's still very steady, right? It's not trying to push a ton of detail down your eyes.
It's not overwhelming.
Yeah. And incredibly expressive. You can do a lot with a model like that in the animation front. Again, it depends on what you're making your model for. This is clearly a model that's been made for animation. And
Yep. Chibisoft was made to be expressive. Look at how expressive I am. I'm a little bit more expressive in other ways, but I can't really show that on this stream specifically.
Onwards then.
Okay. Onward.
From Hades.
Yes.
Now this design has a lot going on. There's a lot going on, a lot of references, a lot of aesthetic.
Yes, but the important thing is it's focused. So Hades had such a good and faithful character design. To an extent, yeah. Wonder what she is associated to. Oh, I don't know. Again, with the silhouette, she is very recognizable. This is Eurydice from the game Hades. And we love her. We love Tree Mom. But so you'll notice that she has a whole lot of little details, but the character design doesn't feel overwhelming. That's because all the details are pointed. And what I mean by that is that they're all going with the same general aesthetic, which is nature-based. She's got the little acorns on her hip, and then she's got all those like floral tattoos. Which I think she's got like a pond on her arm, her forearm.
Well, it looks almost like to be a map down here, with the pond and
Almost,
some grass,
yeah.
and then
And then you go up. She's got some leaves towards the face, and then she's got a twig in her mouth. Very, very cute. She looks almost deer-like in her face. I really love her eyes. They're so small, but they're very expressive.
You even have some furs over here.
Mm-hmm.
And the tambourine, which is usually associated with sort of a free spirit.
With music.
Yeah, and gypsy aesthetic. Romani, I should say.
Yeah, Romani. Very, very nice. Very nicely designed.
Yeah, beautiful design. And I also feel it's very important to point out, this character is not supposed to be animated. This character is never supposed to be animated. If this character was animated, everything that we just called out as good would probably be bad. If this was animated, this would blur. This would fuzz into nothingness and just become a unintelligible mess. If this character was animated, you would have to spend so much effort on the tambourine that it would not be worth it. If this character was animated, this weird hair piece style of turning out into a into a tree would look bad. If you try to have this character turn their head, this would fall apart. But because this character is because this artwork is just made to be static for the way the character is presented, it works. That's the difference between this and a video game model and a VTuber model and all the other different types of things we've been talking about. This is a standalone image. And as a standalone image, it's fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Freaking gorgeous.
I just feel like it's important to call that out, you know?
Oh, definitely, yeah. So, as we've been kind of like seeing throughout all of the past character designs, like that we've been going through, there's definitely a difference between what you're working with between video game, VTuber, even just PNG, or standard illustration. There is a big difference between how you design things. And it's very important to remember what you're designing for as you're working on something. Because if you're designing for animation, you might want to make it a little bit simpler. Not only so the details don't blur as much, but also if it's 2D animation and you're hand drawing it, please do not torture your animators by forcing them to animate lots of little tiny details. They will be very angry at you. Unless you give them a good paycheck. Pay your animators.
Yeah, pay people in general, eh?
Yeah.
And this one is from
Ah.
Fire.
Yes. So this is Jodariel, or Jody for short. You can definitely tell where a majority of the character is being seen just based off of where the details are most focused, which is around the face, like torso upwards.
Yep. You can tell they didn't even complete the bottom part here. It's very noticeable in this picture.
Yeah.
But again, when the character is presented like this, yeah, that's not a problem.
Yep. Her silhouette is very recognizable. Those horns serve a very big purpose in like, yeah. It's like, look at our lady here. You can tell that's Jody. You can also tell that this character has some sort of seeming demonic relation.
Yep, the giant horns, the dark set around the eyes, like that's not makeup look. That's like a deep set look.
Yeah. Yep. Very, very, very beautiful. She's from Pyre. Another super giant game.
Same team.
All right.
Osha.
Onward.
Now here we have something much different.
Yes. So this is the Strawberry X Miku 15th anniversary design, which I have surprisingly seen in cosplay. And there's a lot of little details in here, but notice how limited the color palette is. It's Miku's traditional hair color, white and red, and maybe just a little bit of yellow and gold.
A little bit.
But because the yellow and gold are so like close in tone, it's not as distracting as it could be.
Yeah, those are just highlights.
You can do very detailed designs. That's not an issue. It more so comes with how do you use that detail. So we've got the gingham skirt with the scallop pattern. Then you've got the music notes, which Miku. This is Hatsune Miku, musician. And then we have the grid pattern on her giant poofy sleeves.
Yep. We
So
have the
it's
tablecloth
on
pattern,
purpose
being back
on
even
how
more
much
the food aesthetic.
How much covered of that golden fork. So if you had made that fork silver, it would have been too much. But because there's already gold and yellow on the rest of the character, it doesn't feel distracting. And neither with the green for the strawberry either. Because Miku is leading on the side of greenish blue.
It's still a lot, but it's well composed.
Yes.
Like it's a lot. Like I'm not gonna sit here and pretend this isn't a lot, right?
No, my girl is detailed to heck and back.
It's good, but it is a lot.
It's good. Right, and then
Also, just want to call out the recurring motifs. This flower here matches all the ones in the hair. These ribbons in the hair match here. It also matches the details on the plate. Like there's a lot of recurring things. The idea of confectionery. You have this texture here is a doily. You know, saying like you have in a fancy restaurant.
yeah,
Matches the confectioner's look of the marron there. I think it is, and
macaron.
Macaron, that's what okay. There's a lot of recurring elements that throughout the character that work well. And usually when a character looks too busy, it's because those recurring elements don't flow. If you took the same character and you took away this, and a lot of it would fall apart. If you take the same character and changed one or two of these patterns to something that didn't fit the same motif, it would fall apart. This character is very delicately balanced, and it would only take a tiny little push, and this character would fall apart. The design of this character would shatter with just a little nudge in any direction, and it's impressive
like if you tried
how
to
well
put
balanced it is.
the gridding on the sleeves onto the blouse, that would be too much.
Yeah. Yeah, even in the same elements. Yeah. Cackling's back. Maybe start Light Host again.
Okay.
Taking a break to take a drink.
I will have to look into that when I am not live.
Okay.
Ah. No, right out of the gate, this looks very Nomura.
Yep.
It's an awkward pose, right?
Yeah. Very early 2000s. 2001 to be exact. So this is the protagonist character from Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, my personal favorite Pokemon game.
I personally, yeah, there's not like Phantos mentions, there's not a great line of action. You have this sort of curve here that goes up, then you have a really weird eye line that just shoots off into the distance that nothing matches. I kind of wish that this arm was extended to match the eye line. That I think that would have been nice.
Yeah.
This matches. This is just exactly doesn't match the line of the chest. Now I don't. This is more about, the art rather than the model or the character, but I don't love the way that that's entirely put together, personally.
Yeah.
But as far as the design of the character, I like this biotic arm.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's very simple. Like,
yeah.
From a distance, you can tell that our arm has some sort of mechanical element to it. This design is great for a couple of reasons. One, red, yellow, and blue ties them all very well together. Eyes are beautiful, beautiful green.
And the green complements both the blue and the yellow very nicely.
And the blue and the yellow are like the biggest parts of this character design. Not only that, but the from a distance, like, character on screen, because this is for a video game, is very small compared to everything else that you're looking at. Like, yeah, that's about how big it was in game, but even then, it doesn't have so much detail that it gets muddied up from a distance, but it's detailed enough that you can tell, oh, there's a headband there, his hair is very spiky, my goodness. Spot the main protagonist, why don't you?
Let me see if I can do something with this real quick.
Oh?
Yeah, gonna try and do a thing.
Alright.
Can I just...
How we doing, chat?
Is this to do?
There's some triangle on him. Yep. So, a lot of times you'll see triangles on both protagonists and villains. Adora is a good example. Her character design is very full of triangles.
I was gonna see if I could do.
Doing well, you have cake. Cake.
I was just gonna see if I could real quick destroy the background so we could get the silhouette. I mean, you can still see the silhouette very clearly, but no, it's a JPEG. Can't do that. Not allowed. It's forbidden. But you can tell the character has a good silhouette. Like, even just here, you can tell the character has a very good silhouette on it.
Yep.
The bagginess of the pants is
it's
interesting.
Deceptively soft looking. Yeah, but you can almost tell. I'll not get too big into it because I don't have a picture of the big bad to show on stream. That's something that people could possibly look up later. Or, play the game. It's a good game.
It's a simple design that I think works in its context. Yeah.
Yep.
Next up, we have this.
Yes.
Now here we have a powerful A-frame. We have a very nice static, sturdy static stance, and this line of action off to the side, beautiful. This cloak exaggerates the A-frame. This does everything that I think the last picture wanted to do but didn't. This picture crumbles in comparison to this one. For me at least.
Yes. So this is the protagonist of Pokemon Colosseum, the game that precedes Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. Very strong silhouette. Again, with the triangle shape language. A little bit of block shape language as well. Very sleek design. Now, what I like is... Oh, hey, it's Seth. The characters have various canon names. The previous one is sometimes called Michael, and this one is sometimes called Wes.
Mm-hmm. This design works for me personally in all the ways the last one didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, the shoes don't look as absurd. The shoes look like they work with the character's aesthetic because you can see the skinny waist, the skinny legs, and the size of the head and the bulbousness of this little arm piece exaggerates out, complementing the way the shoes exaggerate out. This doesn't do that.
Yep.
This does not do that. Sorry.
No, but this is good. It's good. He needed a few more inches. No. I think he's fine. I think he's fine with the height he's currently at with those shoes.
Mm-hmm.
But I would definitely wear those boots if I could, without breaking myself.
Although this does bring up a point that I forgot. That is a very good point to bring up here.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Pokemon character.
Yep.
So you know the character must hold a Pokeball at some point. Prop design.
Mm-hmm.
The Pokeball is a static prop. You can't change the Pokeball. You can't. It's just, it's a Pokeball.
Yeah.
If you are making a Pokemon character, you have to keep in mind that they're going to be using a Pokeball at some point. It's sort of like what I was saying before about designing the character around the Hat in Time character around the hat. The antagonist, because you knew they were going to have it at some point. Likewise, you know that you're going to have a Pokeball on this character, and you should make sure from the very beginning that that's going to be fluid with their design. And here you have these orbs here.
Yeah.
These orbs would seem out of place. There's only 2 of them. They're not linked anywhere else. There's no orb on the foot or hairball dongle orb thing. But because the character is going to be holding a Pokeball in probably, I imagine, most of the frames they're in, this orb motif has a natural payoff in engine.
Yep. So, rule of 3 here also, because there's 2, and then the
true.
Pokeball completes it.
Also, I love the asymmetry here. Look at this line. This line comes up here, and it keeps going. And it has to drop the asymmetry for this line to keep going. But this line here works very well, and it just goes into this pauldron and curves out. I think I like that. I like this design.
Yeah. Very well. Very well done.
I like it all
I
the
don't
ways
quite get the white underneath, the white stripe across his face. I mean, it looks cool. I just don't understand it.
I think it's just to make them look more otherworldly. Like you said, this is a villain, right? I mean, the villainous nature reads with the weird pauldron and this sort of the way the handpiece is sort of tendrilled down off of the pauldron. I think this is just to make them look less relatable. Make them look a little bit less like the good guys. Make them a little bit different. That's my thought, anyways. I don't know.
A little less like the good guy, and yet this is the protagonist.
Oh, this is?
There's a reason for that, though. There is a reason for that.
Fair enough. I get villain vibes out of this in a good way, though.
Yeah.
Pcha. Hey, Midna.
Midna. All right. So, again, very well designed around the premise of she's going to have this thing on her head. And very recognizable in her silhouette. She's got a whole lot of Midna's very pointy.
Yes.
Very pointy.
Midna has the design of a villain, right? She has a villain's design pretty much through and through. One eye covered, which reduces the amount of connection that you can make to the character visually. The hair makes the helmet even more highlighted, and the awkward weighting of it is something that works quite well.
Yeah, she's very expressive, though, which you can tell by the one eye that she does have, because it's huge. And her ginormous smile. My goodness, girl.
Which is uncommon for Japanese characters. usually the Japanese characters lean towards a smaller mouth shape, say shape and
Yep.
size.
Yeah. One thing that I do like here is Midna's got a little bit of everything shape-wise. So most noticeably with her little headdress thing, that's very square shape. The rest of her is mostly triangles, but she also has a little bit of circle in there. She's got a little circle on her tummy, and then patterning over her chest area. And then the motif of her, like, I want to say tattoos, but they're not really tattoos. But the motif of her tattoos are
Markings.
carried throughout her design and also on the hat, which makes them related. Hat does not look off place, and neither do her arm markings. And you can tell this character was kind of meant to be viewed from a distance because of her exaggerated form. Body is very small, but head is very big. And so is her hair. Hair is massive. But yeah, part of why shape language is so important is because if you can get the right amount of blocks in a character, the right amount of blocking in a character, from a distance you can tell, oh, this is this character.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Pacha.
I had to. I
All
want
right.
your thoughts on this.
All right. It's not good. So, pixel art, especially in the Atari era, was extremely difficult to get an idea, to get a concept out, right? And when we got to the 8-bit era, it was drastically improved. Like, Nintendo sprites look interesting. They're fine, they look good, they work. Super Nintendo sprites, I will argue, is where some of the best sprite work that has ever been created was made. Atari, you were struggling with conveyance. You were struggling to convey an idea, which is kind of the doubled... Okay, so there's two major problems with the Atari era, specifically related to artwork. One is that when you have such low colors and sprite count and allowed detail, you don't have a lot to work with. Second is...
Definitely not.
There is absolutely a technology that, in a sense, to our ability to create characters with conveyance, right? Like, you don't... When I say technology, I mean something that has advanced and been honed over time. In fact, that might be the wrong word for it, but it's still an appropriate one. Like, in the sense that old books used to have a dramatis personae at the beginning because they didn't have the storytelling tools to really give you all the character descriptions as a course of the writing. Something that was made better later on in storytelling. As storytelling got better, the technology of it got better. Conveyance was barely understood as a concept at this time. The idea of using conveyance to explain something was in its infancy at this time, right? And that's where this game struggles in all of its visuals. Is it's difficult to tell what anything is. It's difficult to tell what your goals are, and not being able to tell what your goals are is honestly the biggest problem with this game. The biggest problem, like, if you could tell what you were supposed to do in E.T., it would have been a bad but middling game. The fact that you can't tell what you're supposed to do, the fact that the conveyance isn't there, is what really kills it. More than anything else, I believe.
I got you on a game design rant.
It wasn't that hard. I mean, I am always a small push away from a game design rant at any given time throughout the day. Seriously, you know this.
Yes. So, but what about this specifically makes it a bad character design?
There's nothing implying
Would
that
you
that's the
say
character.
at least?
I mean, the only reason you know that's the character is because it's the only thing on screen, right? There's nothing about this that implies that this is a playable character. There's nothing about this that implies that there's no way to tell the character's goals or intents or what is this character's intent, right? Like what does this character want to do? Just by the visuals. Not talking about what the character actually is. Just by the visuals of this character, what do they want to do? They have determination. They have a focus. They have a strong frame. They have, this casual tossing aside of something that they know is just a part of their body. Great, beautiful, flawless. What does this character want to do? They're a farmer. That much is blisteringly obvious. That what they want to do is farm, and they have this energetic youthfulness in their eyes, and with their stance is prepared, but not prepared for battle, just prepared to go and do something. They look active. They want to do something. What is this character wanting to do? They're scared. There's something formal and wedding adjacent in them, but there's also a stiffness in the shoulders and a coldness in the eyes that shows a fear. I mean, it's the classic question of what is Mona Lisa smiling about, right? And what does this character want to do? This character wants to be sassy. Everything about them has this barely thinly veiled, sure, sort of attitude and you just can't. Now, you can't. It's just not really possible to do that. But now we can do that with Atari tools. If somebody makes a game right now using Atari graphics, they could make it because we know how to make a pixel art character have conveyance, even in the Atari style graphics. But I could pull up sprite sheets of Final Fantasy VI and just talk for months about how much they were able to do with that design, with a limited number of sprites. I am not going to do that simply because New Frame Plus already has a series about that. Go watch it; it's phenomenal, showing how.
After you finish the stream, though.
Yeah, New Frame Plus, it has a fantastic series of the Final Fantasy games, showing how they were able to do so much with so little. And a big part of this game here is that it came out before it was understood how to really convey these things. We knew how to do it in artwork, right? We knew how to make a character, show intention in a piece of art. We didn't know how to do that with pixel art. We didn't know how to do that in a game setting. Now we do. And like I said, we could even do that in an Atari setting now, but we couldn't then.
Yep. So E.T.'s character design within the game kind of suffered from, they did not really know how to convey as much as they could. They did have a general shape for E.T. though. Big, weird looking head, small rotund body, and long neck. And granted, with what they were given, knowing E.T.'s design and what they were basing it off of, they did okay.
No, they didn't.
But they did okay. They did their best. I wasn't one of the people looking forward to the E.T. game.
I mean,
I wasn't as majorly disappointed as other people could have been.
Hold on a second. Let me... I actually am going to pull up a comparison piece here. Give me one brief moment, though. That works. Sorry for the delay on this. Let me just get this into the place where things are.
Okay.
Oh, sorry for the delay on that. Here.
So, same system?
Same system. This is the Atari.
Ah.
I mean...
Yeah, now seeing this,
Yeah, Pitfall, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
This is clear. This is clear. This is a dude swinging on a vine, holding his legs up so he doesn't get bit by crocodiles. Right? Like, this
Yep.
is predates E.T., I believe, by like a year or two. Someone can fact check me on that if you care. I don't care. But this is around the same time period. It's not that they didn't know how to make graphics. It's not that art didn't exist. It's that... Yeah, that also, Phantos, thank you. This is a cobra. You can tell what kind of snake this is.
Yep.
Right? Like, this is a very specifically a type of snake. And that is still conveyed well.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that little scorpion!
And they're
Yeah.
Like...
From a distance, I couldn't tell what it was. It's like now looking at it. Oh yeah, that's scorpion shape.
Mm-hmm. Now, again, a lot of conveyance didn't really exist. A lot of the... What I was saying is, I'll stand by. But to say, oh, it was fine for its time... No, it wasn't. For its time, it was still bad.
you have to understand, though, of the Atari, I had only ever seen E.T.
Fair.
I had not been blessed with what other Atari games were available. Yeah, so now saying that, yeah, it's... I can see why people have gripes with it.
Like, okay, I'm gonna pull up one more. One more, because I can get out and set it up a lot
Frosted,
faster.
I'm young! Frosted, I'm young! I'm a baby! Look at how baby shape I am!
There. Look at that model. Look at just this, the character. Just the character model. Just this dude. Tell me about them.
It's a dude. There's a dude,
Like-
and there's a key, and there's a skull.
Now, this is on the same system. It actually has the same number of colors available, and the same number of pixels available as ET. There's not a lot going on here. There's not a lot that you can convey. But this right here is a dude with a hat. And honestly, you can tell that they're the main character. Their color contrasts with the level. Their shoes give you a clear idea of where they can stand. And their hat is jaunty and fashionable.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when giving E.T. credit for being, good in its time is like saying that, that Lovecraft was not terribly racist for his time. No, for his time he still was.
Yeah.
Even in his time he was considered an extremist. Or Henry Ford or something. Like one of these, just because it was a different time doesn't mean that E.T. was, oh, it's just a product of his time. No, E.T. was still bad in his time. It was just bad.
Yep.
And sometimes things are bad. Hot take for the day, sometimes things are bad.
Sometimes things are just bad.
I don't know why those were the thoughts I went to, but I saw some TikToks about both of them lately. We have our last one coming up, though.
Yo!
Sapphi. What am I looking at?
What this is?
No, I don't. I'm going to guess it's a Splatoon thing.
This is fresh fish.
Okay.
But okay, so
Fine, okay, let's go
notice
with
you
this.
can still
Let's go.
tell which game it was from.
That's true, I could pick out the
Despite
franchise.
This is no Splatoon. Don't know where you got the idea, Jade. Okay, so I say this is bad character. Okay, it's good character design in that some mascot costumes can be a little freaky. Just the deadpan eyes, the stitching on the face, it's like the tiny little eyebrows, and you can tell it's a weird amalgamation of something. It's fish shaped.
It looks unnatural. There's nothing about
yes.
like the neck doesn't even look like it connects to where the spine. Like I would expect the center of neck to be here, and then the spine starts over here. Like you got the giant sonic paws, which people who are better than me have talked about that. Why though?
So I
why
wanted to
is
show
there a
this
scene?
because even though it's very displeasing, I argue that it's supposed to be.
That's fair.
It's a mascot character. It's like cheap mascot character that can be replicated very easily across like several different parks, and considering like mascot character for a park that you can actually go to in Splatoon, it's like you taxidermize Flounder and turn him into a mask.
You actually, I don't know what that's all about, but I will say though, you raise a good point, and that's that character designs don't have to be pretty. You know, making a character that is intentionally unpleasant to look at is a different skill, but it's also an important one, to be honest. Like, the ability to make an Urukai or a Baron Harkonnen or something like, you know, along those lines is a skill, and it is an important skill. This looks disconcerting, and I feel better now that I know it's supposed to be. You know, the idea that this is supposed to look off-putting makes me reevaluate it. It's like, oh, okay, in that case, it succeeds at what it's trying to do.
Yep.
And there's lots of ways that you can make characters look off-putting that are fun.
Yeah, this is where I wanted to bring up a point you had brought up earlier with the tabletop scene being, like, this tabletop minifigures being a little dull in color. Up until Splatoon had released, there were very few online third-person shooter games that had more color in it than just gray, black, brown, and possibly red, if we were being fancy that day.
But the red was blood, though.
Splatoon is a very colorful game. Like, I recolored this slightly because I had used this for a stream with Tori. But it was red before, like, the fins were like this reddish purple, beautiful reddish purple. So this Splatoon is very colorful. It breaks out what the genre was at the time. Mind you, we didn't have fresh fish until Splatoon 2.
I don't know. I'm thinking of a couple of ones that might have been considered that. Something like Warframe or Orcs Must Die both have a very vibrant color scheme, but those were not. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. But in going further into like character design and making a design that is purposefully supposed to look a little off-putting or sometimes even disgusting. So take Resident Evil for instance. The enemies all look visceral and gross, and I hate them all. But they're wonderfully designed because you're supposed to react that way.
Yeah. It's about creating the effect in your viewer. I mean, that's something that I've, firmly believe is a big part of art, and what can define art is, does it create an emotion? Does it create an effect? Does it create a thought pattern in the viewer? And this is creating thought patterns, and I don't like them.
Yeah. So like, I remember a couple of times when I was watching you play Elden Ring that I was just like, it moves. Why does it move that way? It's gross.
Yeah. Masterfully done in those situations. Unpleasant, but masterful. By design.
It's ugly in a way that makes sense. Yeah, so. Yeah, character design is very fun. Don't ever play Bloodborne Sapphi. I will play it if someone were to get it for me. Thing looking straight at Jade. Okay, it can look straight at me then. Sir, my eyes are up here. I know they're very thin and tall. Tuzzy, the scary part is I know you will. Just two silly long legs. Nope. Hi. How you doing? Stream not supposed to be scary. Incorrect. I could have put horror genre things on here, but I didn't. This is the closest thing.
And yet somehow it's still terrifying.
Just the dead, stuck in place eyes. Some people think like the follow me eyes are freaky. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. I much prefer something looking at me than something looking at me and me not being able to give any expression at all.
Mm-hmm.
Got any games on your phone? No.
Alright. Well, that's all the ones that we had to cover today, and that's almost 3 hours. Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little worried that 26 pictures to go off of was not going to be enough.
I believed.
Yeah, that's why I asked you beforehand.
Yes, yes.
Alright.
Thank you
So,
for your time.
thank you for having me.
Yeah. Is there any final closing thoughts that you have?
Character design is very hard, but when done well, it is very rewarding. And also remember what you are designing for. Most of my designs are meant for illustration, but there are some of my designs that aren't meant for illustration. Like, Chibi Stuff right here could be viewed at several different angles, but looks particularly good viewed this way. I do have another version of Chibi Stuff that's viewed from the front. But how you're viewing the character, what genre you're working in, can greatly affect how you need to go about a design. So, also, balance. Remember to balance your character design. And if you want to go the safe route, keep it simple. You can go detailed, but you need to be very careful about it.
Thank you so much for coming on. This was a good time.
Yeah. I had fun.
I believe we are going to be doing a community night tonight. Probably watching some it's showing us a couple of videos. I know I have an infrastructure video, you have that music video. And then probably watching some retro anime, like Cardcaptor Sakura or something. It has some phenomenal character designs in it. Classic clamp designs.
Right. If you want to join us for that and you're not already a part of the Discord server, link to the Discord server invite is in the description of this stream and every other stream that Jade does.
True. It's not a VTuber Discord, but that's like, all about the VTuber.
No.
It's just a cozy place. It really is.
It's very cozy.
So thank you.
We
all.
also like to share memes with each other. There's some good memes.
Yeah. Thank you all. You've been wonderful, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Be sure to like the video if you liked it. Dislike the video if you didn't like it. Fair is fair. And subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Cheers, friends.